Ethan had never imagined that his curiosity about the stars would lead him here, standing in the middle of an alien city that shimmered under a violet sky. The streets were alive with colors he had never seen before, floating vehicles gliding silently above, glowing plants swaying despite the lack of wind, and beings of strange shapes moving with a rhythm that was almost musical. He felt like an intruder, small and human among creatures built for this world. Yet his eyes were drawn to one figure above all others, a woman who moved with an elegance that seemed impossible. She was tall, taller than him by a head, with skin that reflected the sunlight in shades of silver and gold, almost like liquid metal. Her hair, long and flowing, caught the light with every movement. She wore a suit that shimmered like water, and yet her confidence made her seem untouchable. Ethan's heart raced. He had come here to explore, to learn about alien life, not to feel nervous over one individual, but he couldn't stop looking. There was something magnetic about her, something that drew his gaze without permission. Then it happened. He realized he had been staring, not subtly but openly, unable to tear his eyes away. And just like that, she noticed. Her amber eyes locked onto his, sharp and bright, filled with a mixture of surprise and amusement. Ethan's stomach dropped. His cheeks burned and he instinctively looked away, but the damage was done. She walked closer, every step measured, the sway of her form graceful and confident. Then, in a voice both melodic and teasing, she asked, "Why are you staring at my butt?" Ethan froze. His mind scrambled for words, none of which seemed adequate. He wanted to apologize, explain, even disappear if he could. I mean, it's not." His voice faltered, betraying him. She tilted her head slightly and a small smirk played on her lips. "Humans," she said, a mix of curiosity and humor in her tone, "always so awkward, so easily distracted." Ethan felt a mix of embarrassment and fascination. He couldn't decide whether she was angry, teasing, or testing him. Her gaze wasn't hostile. Instead, it was sharp, like she was measuring his honesty, his instinct. He suddenly realized she didn't just want an apology. She wanted him to answer honestly, not with excuses, but with truth. I'm sorry," he finally managed, swallowing hard. "I didn't mean to stare, it's just, you're different, amazing, I guess I got distracted." She blinked slowly, studying him with those piercing amber eyes. "Different," she repeated, her voice calm yet challenging. "Do you understand what you admire, human, or do you just admire it because it looks attractive?" Ethan's heart pounded. He hadn't thought that far. His initial curiosity, the instinctive stare, had been shallow. He realized now that there was more to her than just appearance. There was power in the way she moved, intelligence in the way she observed the world, and confidence that made even the busy city around her seem quiet. Before he could say anything else, she turned and started to walk away. Ethan hesitated, unsure if he should follow, apologize more, or leave. Then she glanced back at him over her shoulder, a spark in her eyes, and that spark changed everything. It was not a look of anger or superiority. It was a look that dared him to understand, to follow, to learn. Ethan realized something then. Being human, awkward, and honest mattered more than trying to be perfect. That small imperfection, the starring, the nervousness, was exactly what had drawn her attention. And for the first time, he felt that maybe curiosity, honesty, and courage were more powerful than he had ever imagined. With a deep breath, he stepped forward, following her through the crowd, unsure of what awaited him but knowing one thing for certain. This encounter would change him forever. Ethan followed her cautiously, weaving through a crowd of aliens who all moved with a rhythm he could not understand. Their faces were unfamiliar, their gestures strange, yet nothing distracted him from her. She walked with a purpose, each step deliberate, and yet there was a natural grace in the way she moved, like she belonged everywhere and nowhere else could matter. He kept his distance, careful not to appear intrusive, but his heart kept beating faster with every glance at her shimmering form. She paused at a street corner, turning to look at him, and her amber eyes glinted with amusement. "You are persistent, human," she said softly. Most of your kind would have run or looked away long ago." Ethan swallowed, his throat dry. I didn't want to offend, I wanted to understand, to see." Her expression softened slightly, though a spark of challenge remained. To see, or to admire? Ethan felt a flush of embarrassment. He wanted to explain, to speak carefully, but the words seemed inadequate. Finally, he said, "I suppose it started with admiration, but I realized it's more than that. I want to understand you, who you are, not just what I see." For a moment she studied him in silence. The city around them seemed to fade as if her attention alone could bend reality. Then, almost imperceptibly, she nodded. Curiosity without understanding is dangerous, but curiosity with honesty, that is rare. Ethan felt relief wash over him. Something about her voice, her calm judgment, made him want to prove himself, not just to her but to himself. "I'll try," he said. "I want to learn. I don't want to fail before I even begin." She glanced at the crowded streets, then gestured for him to follow. "Come. If you truly wish to understand, words alone will not suffice. You must experience, observe, and think. This world, it does not forgive ignorance easily." They moved together through narrow alleys lined with floating lights, shops selling glowing fruits and mechanical pets, and alien creatures performing tasks Ethan couldn't even name. He noticed that she didn't speak much, but every movement, every glance she made, told him more than words could. Her awareness of the environment was extraordinary. She seemed to sense danger before it arrived, detect kindness in strangers' faces, and calculate paths through the crowd with perfect efficiency. Ethan realized that this was why she had caught his attention in the first place. Not her shape, not the elegance of her movement, but the power, the intelligence, and the awareness behind it. And with each step, he understood more about her world and more about the gap between instinct and understanding. Finally, she stopped in front of a building that pulsed faintly with a soft inner light. Its walls seemed alive, glowing with a rhythm that made Ethan's chest tighten. "Here," she said, her tone softer now, "is where you will learn more than I can tell you. Are you prepared to see what most humans never could?" Ethan hesitated for only a moment. Then he nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness he had never experienced before. "I am," he said. She studied him, her gaze almost piercing. "Remember," she warned, "this is not a test of strength. It is a test of understanding. Many fail because they judge too quickly or act too carelessly. Humans often trust appearances over truth." Ethan swallowed, his heart beating faster than ever. "I'll do my best," he said honestly. For the first time she smiled fully, a rare, genuine smile that made her amber eyes glow. "Then step inside," she said. "And remember, to see someone truly, you must look beyond what is obvious. You must see what is hidden." As he followed her through the glowing doorway, Ethan felt an unfamiliar mix of fear and hope. He knew that this journey was no longer just about curiosity or admiration. It was about understanding, about proving that his humanity, his honesty, his courage, his imperfections, could mean something in a world far beyond Earth. And with that thought, he stepped into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges awaited him, knowing that the alien woman had become more than a mystery. She had become a guide, a teacher, and perhaps, in ways he could not yet understand, a connection that would change him forever. Ethan stepped inside the building, and the air immediately felt different, thicker, almost alive, as if it breathed with a rhythm of its own. The walls shimmered faintly, reflecting soft lights that seemed to follow his every movement. The alien woman led him into a circular chamber where holographic images floated in the air. Distant planets, strange creatures, and intricate patterns of light that twisted like living constellations. Ethan's eyes widened in awe, his earlier embarrassment forgotten. "This is the chamber of understanding," she said softly, her amber eyes scanning him. "Here you will learn more than words could teach you. Observation, patience, and honesty are your only tools. Are you ready, human?" Ethan nodded, trying to steady his racing heart. "I am." She gestured to the holographic images, and suddenly the room seemed to shift. The floating lights merged into a maze of illusions, each path challenging and unfamiliar. "This is not just about seeing," she explained. "It is about perception. You must understand the truth beneath the surface. Most creatures fail here because they look without thinking or act without feeling. Humans sometimes surprise me." Ethan took a deep breath and stepped forward. Each move he made had to be deliberate, careful, and thoughtful. The chamber responded to his presence, changing and shifting as he moved. A holographic figure of the alien woman appeared ahead of him, seemingly trapped in a swirling void. Ethan felt a surge of fear, but he pushed it aside. He reached out instinctively, guided not by desire or curiosity, but by concern. The illusion shifted, and he realized that it was testing his focus, not just his ability to act. He navigated through the maze, interpreting subtle cues in the lights, the pulsing walls, and the echoes of her voice. It was exhausting, mentally and emotionally, but with each correct choice, he felt a growing sense of connection, not just with her, but with the way her mind worked. After what felt like hours but could have been minutes, he finally reached the center of the chamber. The holograms dissolved, leaving only the woman standing there, her arms folded and a faint smile on her lips. "You move with caution but also with courage. Few humans can do that. Most are either reckless or paralyzed by fear. You are different." Ethan exhaled heavily, feeling sweat on his brow. I just tried to understand. I didn't want to fail." She stepped closer, her eyes softening. "Understanding is not about perfection. It is about honesty, effort, and openness to learn. You have all three, human. That is why you succeeded where others would not." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. The embarrassment of starring earlier, the awkwardness, the mistakes, none of it mattered now. He had been given a chance to show something deeper, that humans, despite their flaws, could observe, think, and act with integrity and heart. She reached out, not touching him but gesturing toward the floating images. "See this world as I do," she said. "Not just the surface, not just what is pleasing or easy to admire. There is depth, purpose, and meaning behind everything you see. Learn to notice it. Humans have the potential to do so, but it is rare." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He realized that his journey had only begun. The chamber was more than a test. It was a lesson in perception, patience, and respect. For the first time, he felt truly human, in a way that mattered beyond Earth. Courage, honesty, and curiosity had led him here. And for the first time, he understood that these qualities were more powerful than appearances, more enduring than strength, and more valuable than instinct alone. She studied him for a moment longer, then smiled gently. "You are learning faster than I expected. Perhaps humans are capable of more than most believe." Ethan felt a surge of hope. He had come here by accident, awkward and distracted, yet he was beginning to prove himself, not with strength or cunning, but with honesty and heart. And in that moment, he knew that the alien woman, the city, and the challenges ahead were no longer intimidating. They were opportunities, opportunities to show what humans were truly capable of. Ethan stepped out of the chamber of understanding into the alien city once more. The streets were brighter now, not because of lights, but because his eyes had begun to notice details he had overlooked before. The floating vendors, the glowing fruits, the creatures performing strange tasks, they all seemed connected in a rhythm he could almost feel. But as he walked beside the alien woman, he realized that not everyone welcomed him. Several beings paused in their paths to look at him, whispers of unfamiliar language carried by the violet wind. Ethan felt the weight of their stares, heavy with suspicion and caution. The woman glanced at him, her expression unreadable but firm. "You must understand, human," she said quietly. "This world does not treat outsiders kindly. Some see humans as fragile, others see them as intruders. Few are willing to observe and respect before acting." Ethan nodded, though his heart thumped nervously. He had faced the challenges of the chamber, but the judgment of an entire city felt different, larger, more personal. His instincts screamed to hide, to shrink back, but he remembered her lessons. honesty, patience, understanding. As they walked, a group of taller beings emerged from a side street. They were clad in sleek armor, their movements sharp and precise. The leader, a towering figure with eyes like molten metal, stepped forward. "Human," the leader's voice rumbled through the air, deep and commanding. "You trespass in sacred space. Speak. Why are you here?" Ethan's pulse quickened. Every instinct told him to flee, yet he remembered the woman's guidance. He took a deep breath, steadying his nerves. "I am here to learn," he said, his voice firm despite the tremor in his chest. "To understand your ways, your people, and your world. I mean no harm." The armored leader studied him, silence stretching across the street like a heavy curtain. Ethan could feel the weight of their judgment pressing down, testing him, measuring his honesty. The alien woman stood silently beside him, her presence reassuring yet demanding. Then slowly the leader's shoulders relaxed. "Few speak with such honesty," the figure said, its voice softer but still commanding. "Perhaps this human is worth observing further." Ethan exhaled, relief flooding through him, but he did not let himself relax completely. The lesson had been clear. Courage alone was not enough. Integrity, honesty, and respect mattered more than strength or speed in this world. The woman's amber eyes met his, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "See, human, you have already begun to prove yourself. Most of your kind would have acted impulsively or tried to hide. You acted with thought and truth." Ethan felt a swell of pride, mingled with humility. The embarrassment of his first encounter, the starring, the awkward apologies, now felt like a distant memory. He realized that every mistake, every moment of fear had led him here, teaching him a more important lesson. Humanity was not defined by perfection, but by honesty and courage when facing the unknown. The armored being stepped aside, allowing them passage. As Ethan walked with the woman through the streets, he began to notice subtle changes in himself. His observations were sharper, his thoughts clearer. He could anticipate small patterns in movement, sense moods in faces, and interpret the nuances of gestures. He realized that learning a new culture required not just intelligence, but empathy, and that humans, for all their flaws, had a unique capacity for both. By the time they reached a quiet plaza at the edge of the city, Ethan understood something profound. This world, with its complexity, rules, and challenges, could have crushed him. Yet here he stood, not as a visitor or a novice, but as someone who had begun to earn respect through courage, honesty, and understanding. The alien woman finally spoke, her voice gentle but serious. "Humans are often underestimated. Many believe they are fragile or impulsive. But when they are honest, brave, and willing to learn, they are capable of more than anyone expects. You, human, are proof of that." Ethan felt a mix of pride and awe. He had begun as an awkward outsider, nervous and unsure. Now he felt like someone who could stand alongside beings from another world, not just surviving, but truly belonging in a small, meaningful way. And as he looked at the city around him, at the people who had judged him and now observed him with cautious acceptance, Ethan understood that the real challenge was not fear or danger. It was respect, trust, and the courage to stay true to oneself in a world that did not yet know him. Night fell over the alien city, casting violet shadows that danced between glowing towers and floating walkways. The streets had quieted, the crowds gone, leaving Ethan and the alien woman alone beneath the soft luminescence of hovering lanterns. The air was cool, almost electric, carrying scents and sounds unfamiliar to him, yet strangely calming. For the first time, Ethan felt that he could breathe freely, that he could observe not just the city but her, without distraction or fear. She led him to a small overlook at the edge of the city, where the violet sky stretched endlessly, dotted with stars he had never seen before. The view made Ethan's chest tighten. "This city," she said softly, "has many rules, many dangers. Most outsiders never see it this way. They see only what they expect or fear." Ethan turned to her, noticing how her form shimmered under the soft light, how her amber eyes reflected the distant stars. For the first time, he truly looked at her, not just at her elegance, her strength, or the way she had embarrassed him before, but at her presence, the aura of confidence mixed with quiet vulnerability. "I see it," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I see more than I did before, and I see you." Her eyes widened slightly, and for a moment she looked almost surprised. "You see me?" she asked. "Not just my surface, not just what is obvious." Ethan nodded. "I see the strength in you, the intelligence, the way you carry yourself. I see someone who has faced challenges alone and survived. I admire it, but I understand it too. Not fully, perhaps, but enough to respect it." She studied him in silence, a faint smile forming at the corners of her lips. "Most humans," she said finally, "would not speak with such thought. They are easily distracted by appearances, by immediate desires. You are different. You think and then you act. You consider and then you feel. That is rare." Ethan felt warmth spreading through his chest. The embarrassment of staring at her earlier, the awkwardness of their first conversation, all seemed to fade into the distance. Those moments had been the beginning, the spark, but this connection, this understanding, was something deeper. She reached out, her hand hovering near his, though not touching. "To truly understand someone," she said softly, "you must see beyond what is given to you. You must look for the truth behind the actions, the purpose behind the words. Humans have the potential to do this better than most species. You have proven it." Ethan took a deep breath. "I want to learn more, not just about your world, but about you, about your people, your experiences, everything. I want to understand fully, even if it takes time." Her smile widened, her eyes glowing softly in the night. "Then you are willing to go beyond curiosity, beyond instinct. That is rare, human. Most give up when they cannot see everything at once. You do not." For the first time, Ethan felt that being human, awkward, nervous, sometimes clumsy, was not a weakness but a gift. His honesty, his curiosity, his willingness to confront embarrassment and fear had brought him here. And now, standing beside this extraordinary being under the alien stars, he felt a connection that went beyond words, beyond appearances, beyond species. She finally lowered her hand, stepping closer, her gaze gentle yet commanding. "You have begun to prove something important, human. Not strength, not skill, not cleverness. You have begun to prove that humans are capable of understanding, of respect, and of empathy. That is something few creatures in the galaxy can claim." Ethan's heart swelled. He realized that the bond forming between them was not just admiration, not just curiosity, it was mutual recognition. She had challenged him, tested him, and now she acknowledged him. The night stretched on around them, quiet and alive. Ethan felt that in this moment he had crossed a threshold. From outsider, from novice, from observer, to someone who could belong, who could connect, who could prove the potential of humanity in a world far beyond Earth. And as he looked at her, standing under the alien sky, he knew this was only the beginning of something far greater, something that would test his courage, his integrity, and his heart. Ethan and the alien woman were walking through a quieter part of the city when the soft hum of floating lights shifted into something more urgent. A sudden alert flashed in the air, holographic signals vibrating like warnings. "Intruders," she said sharply, her voice low but commanding. "They come without respect. They intend harm, not learning." Ethan's heart raced. His mind screamed that he should run, that he was unprepared for conflict in a world he barely understood. But he remembered her words. Humans had an advantage in unpredictability, in honesty, in courage. This was his chance to prove it, not to her alone, but to himself, and perhaps to her people. "What do I do?" he asked, trying to steady his voice. "You observe first," she said. "Then act. Fear is natural, but hesitation will cost more than you know. Trust what you have learned and trust yourself." Ethan took a deep breath. He scanned the area. The intruder ships hovered low, metallic shapes glinting under the violet sky. The streets were narrow, and civilians had already started moving aside, wary and curious. He noticed the smallest details: how the ships shifted their angle, how their lights pulsed before firing, and how shadows stretched along the walls. He felt a surge of clarity. His human instincts, combined with what he had learned from her, allowed him to anticipate the movements of the threat. "Follow my lead," she instructed, and together they moved with purpose. She guided him through a series of floating walkways and alleyways, using environmental hazards, glowing cables, magnetic gates, and reflective surfaces to confuse the intruders. Ethan moved quickly, improvising solutions, blocking paths, and creating diversions. Every action had to be precise, but also inventive. He realized something he hadn't known before. Being human meant thinking beyond rules, using imagination, and acting with courage even when fear surged. At one point, a small intruder drone swept toward them. Ethan, without thinking, used a reflective panel to redirect its sensors, sending it spinning harmlessly into the air. The alien woman watched him, astonished. "Human ingenuity," she whispered, "is more unpredictable than most species realize. That is your strength." Hours or maybe minutes passed. Ethan had lost all sense of time. Adrenaline, focus, and instinct drove him forward. Every move mattered, every decision counted. Finally, the intruders withdrew, seemingly frustrated by the defenses they had not anticipated, confused by a human mind's ingenuity paired with the woman's guidance. When the last ship disappeared into the violet horizon, Ethan collapsed against a wall, breathing heavily. His heart pounded, his arms ached, but a rush of exhilaration coursed through him. He had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty, and he had not frozen. He had acted. He had survived. He had helped protect not just himself, but a city and a being who had begun to trust him. The alien woman approached, her expression a mix of awe and approval. "You see, human," she said, her amber eyes glowing softly, "strength alone is not enough. Most creatures rely on predictability. You bend rules, think differently, and act with honesty. That is why humans can inspire respect, even fear, without weapons, without power, without domination." Ethan looked at her, exhausted but alive, understanding the weight of her words. The trials, the embarrassment, the learning, all of it had prepared him for this moment. He was human, awkward and imperfect, and yet that very nature had made him formidable in a way no one expected. She extended her hand, and he took it, their connection solidifying in the aftermath of danger. "You have shown courage," she said, her voice gentle. "But more importantly, you have shown that humanity is more than physical strength. It is resilience, creativity, and integrity. You are not just human, you are a reminder to all that even the smallest, seemingly fragile beings can leave a mark on worlds." Ethan smiled, exhaustion and pride mixing into something entirely new, a sense of purpose. He realized that the challenges had only begun, but that he had already proven something essential. Being human, with honesty, courage, and ingenuity, could matter in ways no one had anticipated. And as the violet sky brightened with the first hints of dawn, Ethan knew that he and the alien woman were ready to face whatever came next, together. The first light of the alien dawn spilled across the city, turning the violet sky into a blend of gold and soft pink. The streets, once filled with hustle and whispers, were now quiet, bathed in a gentle glow. Ethan stood beside the alien woman on a high balcony, looking down at the city he had come to know in a way no outsider ever had. His heart felt full, not with pride but with understanding. She turned to him, her amber eyes calm but piercing. "You have endured much, human. Curiosity, embarrassment, challenge, and even danger. Yet you remained honest, brave, and persistent. Few creatures in the galaxy could do what you have done." Ethan exhaled, the weight of the past days settling into clarity. "I never imagined I could face so much or that I could learn so much. I thought my mistakes, my awkwardness would only matter to me. But they brought me here. They helped me grow. They made me human in the truest sense." She studied him, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "That is the essence of your kind. Humans are flawed, often clumsy, sometimes naive, but your flaws are also your strength. You adapt. You persist. You see beyond the obvious. That is why you succeeded where others would fail. Ethan felt a surge of emotion he could not name. Gratitude, awe, humility, and pride all mingled inside him. He realized that being human was not about perfection or dominance. It was about courage, honesty, empathy, and the willingness to act even when outcomes were uncertain. He had stumbled, made mistakes, and yet every step had mattered. Every choice had been a test, and he had faced them all. The woman stepped closer, the soft glow of the dawn reflecting in the smooth lines of her face. Humans are underestimated, dismissed, often considered weak, she said. But strength is not just measured in might or skill. It is measured in heart, creativity, and understanding. You have shown all three. You are a reminder that humanity, flawed as it is, can inspire, influence, and even lead in ways no one expects. Ethan nodded, his gaze drifting over the city once more. I understand now. The starring, the mistakes, the challenges, they were all part of the journey. I thought they were weaknesses, but they were my path, my humanity, and that is what matters. Her smile widened and she extended her hand toward him. Then come with me. There is more to see, more to learn, and more to teach. Together, we will show the galaxy what humans can truly do. Ethan reached out, taking her hand firmly, feeling a connection stronger than anything he had known. In that touch, there was trust, understanding, and a promise of something greater. He realized that he had crossed more than cultural boundaries or physical challenges. He had crossed into recognition. He was not just a human on an alien world. He was a symbol, a bridge, a story that could resonate across species and planets. The wind shifted, carrying scents and sounds that had once seemed alien, now familiar. The city below shimmered like a living organism, and Ethan felt a deep sense of belonging. He had begun as a stranger, awkward and uncertain, captivated by appearances. Now he stood as someone who had earned respect through courage, honesty, and heart. The woman spoke once more, softly, yet with undeniable weight. Humans are often underestimated. You have proven that they are capable of far more than expected. You are proof that even in a vast, unknown galaxy, your kind can leave a mark, not through force, but through understanding, action, and integrity. Ethan smiled, feeling the truth of her words settle in his chest. Then I will continue, he said. I will learn, I will grow, and I will honor the trust you have shown me. The alien woman nodded, her amber eyes filled with pride and something like hope. Good. That is what it means to be human. That is what it means to truly see and act. As the two of them stood on the balcony, bathed in the golden dawn, Ethan knew that his journey had only begun. But he also knew this. Humanity, honest, courageous, imperfect humanity, was capable of inspiring awe, respect, and change, even in worlds beyond imagining. And in that moment, he felt the weight of possibility, the thrill of discovery, and the certainty that being human, fully and bravely human, was a gift the galaxy would never forget.